Ladies and gentlemen, journalists Jodi Kantor and Megan Twohey of the New York Times.
Six weeks ago, we wrote a story in the New York Times exposing decades of sexual harassment and abuse by Harvey Weinstein. During the months we worked on our investigation, we were troubled by the moral gravity of the situation we uncovered. Shockingly similar claims against a powerful man that had been disregarded or covered up for decades.
When we stood with our bosses in the investigative unit at the Times and pushed the publish button, we had no idea what would happen. The woman who spoke to us feared criticism and retaliation. When I previously documented allegations of sexual misconduct by Donald Trump, he responded with personal attacks and threats to sue me and his accusers. Instead, every day of the last 6 weeks has brought new stories as women have come forward with accusations against abusers in every field. Female farm workers, restaurant workers, and athletes have shared their stories. To date, the hashtag MeToo has been tweeted over 2.3 million times in 85 countries.
They join a great history of women who have been willing to share their stories, detail by brutal detail, for the sake of justice. 4 of them join us tonight.
In 1991, I testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee that Clarence Thomas, who had repeatedly harassed me when he was my boss, was unsuitable to sit on the U.S. Supreme Court. The outcome of my testimony was not what I'd hoped, but in no way was it the final word. In the 5 years after I testified, sexual harassment complaints filed with the EEOC more than doubled. Legislation against harassment slowly but surely started to pass. And I saw that we had a chance to shift this narrative.
A quarter of a century later, in 2016, I settled a sexual harassment lawsuit against my supervisor, who pinned me down while I was eating, called me crude names, and sent me lewd photos. I was terrified to speak up, afraid of losing my job, quite frankly, or being physically harmed. But I got up my courage and did it. I wasn't going to let this guy keep me from doing the job I love.
Last month, a friend of mine and a fellow model sent me her story of being sexually abused on set. She asked me to share her experience anonymously on Instagram. In less than 48 hours, hundreds of individuals, inspired by her bravery, came forward too. For too long, sexual harassment has been a norm in our profession. If we complain, the response is, well, that's part of the job. But our jobs should not include abuse.
Most people know me as a gymnast, but I am also a survivor. I am among a huge number of young gymnasts abused by U.S. Olympic and USA Gymnastics team doctor Larry Nassar. This man held a position of influence and power in the sport for more than 20 years, and the extent of his harm he caused is beyond comprehension. More than 130 young women have filed lawsuits alleging abuse by Nasser, and we may never know how many others may be suffering in silence. I stand here for all of them. I am beyond disgusted that a decorated Olympic and USA Gymnastics doctor was able to prey upon so many over such a long period of time. And until we fully understand the flaws in the system that allowed this to happen in the first place and enabled it to continue for decades, we can't be confident it won't happen again. We need more than optimistic assurances. We need answers. We need to take a hard, honest look at the sport's culture, governance, and leadership so we can understand the problem and come up with solutions that will make the sport safer for the next generations. I am determined to work towards real and meaningful change.
After years of not trusting our own inner voices, we need to say this out loud. Women are entitled to work, and girls are entitled to go to school and compete like Aly does in places free of sexual harassment.
This is not a fashion or Hollywood problem. This is a power problem that exists in every profession. Whether you're a famous name or just a cop like me.
After hearing all these stories, it would be easy to believe the only type of power is the boss in the back room. But his power isn't the kind that can heal or love or make the world more just and free. Power looks like the thousands of individuals who, inspired by one another's bravery, are coming forward with their stories. Like Anita, like Aly, like Anna, we are challenging the status quo, how we work, how we treat each other, what we will accept.
Even if you are not a survivor of any kind of abuse, it is still important to show concern and compassion. We are all in this together. Sharing our stories can make it easier to talk about such an uncomfortable subject, which makes it harder for monsters to take advantage. If this is something you have experienced and want to take this time to stand up, we invite you to join us now.
If it's happened to your coworker, friend, girlfriend, sister, mother, daughter, son, anyone you care about, we ask you to stand with us now. If you are committing to make things better, where you work, you go to school, no longer looking the other way, but actively calling and pushing for change, then please, we ask you to stand with us now.
Look around you. Thousands of people are here, ready to unite in this moment. We are the majority, and we have the power to make a more livable world. And to those who continue to speak out, we hear you.
For committing to a more equitable and just world for everyone, we thank you. We thank you for joining us tonight, and we look forward to working with all of you in the future. Thank you.